All right, what's going on, guys, ladies and gentlemen? I'm ATT. I'm back out here with another episode of the Buzzer Beater Basketball Podcast. Today, I'm flying solo because IPF, his internet died, is what he told me. They're trying to figure out what's going on and what the problem is, but he's unable to make it and call with me today, so I'm all alone. Gonna recap what happened last week. Actually, the last 2 weeks, kind of, because last week I did miss an episode. I had recorded and everything. Like, we did it. We did the pick'ems. We did everything. We talked about the Christmas games and all that stuff, just like normal. But unfortunately, due to stuff in like my personal life, like real life problem, well, not problems, but work that I had to get taken care of in my life, I wasn't able to edit it and upload it on time. So last week missed out. I guess, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I just didn't have the time to do so. I could have said that, it was the holiday weekend and we were trying to take a break and all that stuff. But we did have a podcast recorded. It was already, but it was on me. I just wasn't able to get it out on time. By the time I was like able to, it was like Thursday night, and like there really was no point in getting it out there that late if we're just gonna record another one 2 days later. So I just decided to kind of scrap it and pay attention to the next week. It's actually really funny. Ironically, that was the podcast where both of us talked about how it's incredible that we've managed to stay consistent so far, because I mean, it's a lot of work doing the research and like recording and stuff like that, and both of us college students being able to find time to do it together. We were both pretty surprised, and funnily enough, that's the one episode that doesn't make it out on time, so that kind of sucks. But I do apologize for that. I hope it won't happen again, at least anytime soon. I can't make any guarantees, though. Life can be really random sometimes. But yeah, today I'm alone. It's just gonna be me talking about the what happened over the last week. I think this episode should be a lot shorter, just considering that it's just me. I don't have anybody to bounce my ideas off of, and I don't have anybody else to talk. It's really just literally me looking at a Google Doc that I have some notes on, and just giving you my opinion. We did do the pick'em last week. I'm gonna go ahead and get to that right now because it was a really good game. Actually, I'm gonna use that to segue into our first topic. But the Rockets Warriors game was basically the only good matchup on paper that we thought would be interesting. So we both picked the Rockets to win that game for different reasons. He picked it just because they're his team. I thought the Warriors would just be kind of cold ish because they were kind of struggling with off court issues at the time, and I thought the Rockets. James Harden was playing amazing, and I just thought that it would carry over. So I did pick them. If you missed that game and didn't get a chance to watch it, I highly recommend going back and trying to find a way to watch it, because that was a very good game. It was. I want to say it's one of the games. I think it's in contention for game of the season so far. Very entertaining for the most part. Towards the end, it got kind of crazy. It went to overtime. James Harden ended up hitting that crazy 3-point shot, putting the Rockets up 135 to 134, I believe was the final score. It might have been 134, 133. Either way, it was a 1 point game. It was really close. It was a really good game, really entertaining. But yeah, basically, based on that, does that make Harden MVP? That's what a lot of people were saying. Is he the front runner? A lot of people in the media have been saying that over the last week, especially because he's been on fire, right? He's been lights out from everywhere on the court, especially the free throw line. I'm not gonna lie, it's a major part of his game and a major part of the way he gets points. But you got to keep in mind that he does put up the points. He's been putting up. I think he's had 5 straight games now with 40 or more points. That hasn't been done since Kobe, in 06, and Jordan before that. So he's with some elite company. The two best shooting guards, I think, in NBA history. In Kobe and Jordan, and I mean, it's amazing what he's doing is really good. Ever since Chris Paul went out, he's been putting the team on his back and really carrying them through the season. They're like 10-1, I think, or 9-1 with Chris Paul out this season, like the last stretch, which was, I mean, that's just amazing. Like, yeah, MVP. I don't know. I personally don't think that he's the MVP favorite. I know IPF does. Um, at least I would think that he does, given that he's a Rockets fan and he might be slightly biased. But I don't think that he is. I think he's up there and he's in that conversation now. But I think because the Rockets struggled to begin with, I think that should take away a little bit from his MVP candidacy, given that Giannis has been so good right from day one of the season. So I think Giannis is still in front to me, and I also think LeBron is second. Although I don't know if I don't really know if I agree with that myself. I know a lot of people take LeBron. I think I'm really conflicted between well, Giannis is a clear number one to me. I'm kind of conflicted right now between LeBron and Harden for number two. I think Paul George is up there. I think those are the top four for now, without question. Um, I think at least given what we have right now, I don't think that's gonna be I don't think that's what the trend is gonna be going into like the end of the season. I think Giannis is gonna end up staying first throughout the majority of it. I think Harden might fall out a little bit, and I for sure think that Paul George is gonna fall out of that MVP discussion. But for now, he's up there. Both of them, Harden and Paul George, because they've both been just killing it for the Rockets and the Thunder respectively. Like it's actually been amazing. Westbrook, the reigning MVP, well, not reigning MVP. 2 years ago, he was the MVP. He's been kind of slow. He's averaging like 20, 10, and 10, which is, yeah, that's slow for Westbrook. His scoring it's down clearly. He averaged like 30 points, 30, 10, and 10 the year he won MVP. Last year he was like 25, 10, and 10, and this year he's 20, 10, and 10. So I don't know if it's a factor of age, if he's just kind of in like a slump, but I mean, it is what it is right now. He's been doing other things, like he's been playing a lot better defensively. I don't know about the numbers, and defensive numbers are like kind of whack anyway. But at least based on the eye test, just watching him play, he's been a lot more engaged on the defensive side probably because he doesn't have to worry so much about the offense because Paul George has been lighting it up. Moving on to some more off-court news, we have Jimmy Butler. I really wanted to see what IPF's thought process was on this. Whether or not he thinks Jimmy Butler is ruining the process. I don't think so, but I saw that was a headline on, I think it was on ESPN, or it might have been maybe on Bleacher Report, but somewhere, is Jimmy Butler ruining the process? I don't think so. I wanted to see what IPF thought, but what he did during a film session, he went and he was like talking to Brett Brown, and witnesses said that his thing was quote unquote disrespectful, the way he talked to Coach Brown. I don't know. Jimmy Butler is a big series. Is a big. I don't want to say. I was about to say he's a big series. No, he's a big like selling point for a lot of the media companies right now. Like as soon as you put him in the headlines, people are gonna try to click more based on what happened in the preseason and like in the offseason and like what was going on in Minnesota before he got traded to the Sixers. So right now he's like a hot topic. It's a lot like talking about LeBron, right? You put LeBron in your headlines, and people are going to click on it more likely than not. So that's what it is. I don't know how big of a deal it is right now that that Butler is like being talked about, because like I think it's kind of overblown, but we don't know. And given that his history, it like you don't know really what's going on there. I did talk about this as soon as we saw the trade. I remember talking about this on the show, on the podcast, saying that I thought he might ruin the chemistry a little bit, because I thought like what he did in the Bulls, what he did in Minnesota, I've definitely thought it might carry over to his team on the Sixers, and that's what it seems to be happening right now. So we'll see. As of now, it doesn't seem to be a big deal, but apparently he quote unquote challenged Brett Brown aggressively, saying that he wasn't very happy with the role that he had in the offense. He wants a bigger role. Funnily enough, actually, Joel Embiid has been saying that as well. He says that he wants to have a bigger role and not just be a spot-up shooter, which is kind of what he's been so far, especially down the stretch of like close games in like the fourth quarter, where Embiid just kind of spaces the floor for them, because the Sixers really don't have any other kind of reliable shooting on that roster. Outside of JJ Redick, I don't think they have anybody that's reliable, especially in the playoffs. Um, and so I think that's something that they should take a look at. They should go ahead and excuse me. They should really look to sign some shooting players. It doesn't matter what position they play. Really, just get some shooting on the court so they can space the floor. Because Embiid wants to go down and like post up and get his touches there because he's really good at it. He's one of the best players in the league, I think. At just one-on-one ISO in the low post offense kind of thing right now. He has a good amount of moves, good assortment. He knows how to use his body well, get the spacing that he needs to get his little hook shot off or whatever it is. Um, but you do need the space down there to work on that, to work like that rather. Um, let's see what else about the 76ers. I really don't think Ben Simmons until he can shoot. Like, he's it was a really big deal the other day. I think it was like last week. I think we talked about it. He took a 22-foot jump shot, and that was the longest shot of his career, except for like the half court heaves. Um, I think that's a problem. It's a problem that was the longest shot he's taken. So he seems to have been working on it recently. But really, the Sixers do need to get some kind of shooting because I don't think this is gonna be successful in the playoffs when teams can really like prep for you, and really like find your weakness. And it's not that hard to find. It's just they don't have space on their court. Um, let's see. Next up, we have the Kawhi Leonard game. So it was Kawhi. It was the Raptors at Spurs, which was Kawhi's first game back in San Antonio, and it was DeMar DeRozan's first game playing against his old team, the Raptors. So there was like a story kind of thing. The game itself was not very close. The Raptors were down pretty much from the beginning. The Spurs were like in control at home, and it was a good win for them. Good showing for DeRozan, who posted his first career triple double with 20 points, 22 points, I think. I don't know the exact stat, but it was like 20, 10, and 10, give or take. Um, and I was actually really surprised that was his first career triple double, but I mean, I guess it was. Maybe he got. I'm pretty sure he got close a couple of times. He did say going into the game that he was gonna drop 50, but just that didn't work out. And then Kawhi got booed very hard by the Spurs fans. Spurs fans usually don't boo because usually don't have a reason to boo because they've been a very very blessed franchise. I think at least for like the last 25 years. And yeah, they just let Kawhi have it. Like as soon as he walked onto the court in warm-ups and during the player introductions, as soon as he got the ball every time down, he got booed really, really hard. And they got like they were booing, they were like yelling at him, they were calling him a traitor. Like the crowd started chanting traitor and quitter and all that kind of stuff. And like at the end of it, obviously Greg Popovich was asked about it, and he said that he felt badly about it. He said that Kawhi was a great character, and he said, quote unquote, I felt badly about it. So, I mean, I guess that's just what it is. Again, I wanted to ask IPF what he thought about players booing, or fans booing, rather, not players. What he thought about fans booing. Obviously he's not here, so I guess I'll ask him next week. But what I personally am a big fan of fans booing. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Like, booing is fine. When you start calling him a traitor and a quitter, maybe that's a little bit excessive. But I think if you're booing somebody, just let them have it, because it's fun. Like, booing somebody, it's just a fun thing to do when you're like, boo. Like, it's just, I like it. I really like how in that moment all the fans come together and boo. Like, it's just, I think it's really fun. It's really cool. It's like part of the sports culture kind of thing to me. Like, just as much as heckling is a part of the game, like you have to be able to not get annoyed by hecklers. Like, it's a part of the sport. I think booing is just as much a part of that. So I liked it. I also liked it when Laker fans booed Paul George, even though Paul George never played for LA. But he did get some pretty loud boos, and I was okay with that too. I think there's only a few times where I would say don't boo that player when he means something. When it's different, right? Like, in general, like, you wouldn't boo. I don't think people in San Antonio would boo Tony Parker for not re-signing them. Like it's just that simple because he did so much for that franchise. If you boo him, you're bad for that. Like that's just the way it is, I think. Um, okay, speaking of players that mean a lot, Dirk Nowitzki played his final game, probably his final game in Boston, as the Mavericks took on the Celtics. He put up exactly 0 points in that game, which was really sad because he was 1 point shy of having the record for most points scored in Boston, which is currently held by Kobe Bryant, exactly 1 point above Dirk Nowitzki, and Dirk put up zero. Not even he did score 1 point, which is really sad because he's one of the greater scorers that we've seen, especially from the post area, like that fadeaway and that he was like the first stretch, stretch three. I mean stretch four, not stretch three. Excuse me. Um, and he's just a legend, right? And it was kind of sad to see like the Celtics gave him two wide open threes at the end of the game, and he just couldn't make them. And it was sad. He said that it was emotional for him, um, which probably means that he's not going to play. He hasn't said anything about actually retiring at the end of the season, but that's what the consensus seems to be, that he is going to hang it up at the end of the year. So yeah, I mean that's just what it is. I just thought I'd talk about that real quick. Um, Speaking of other players that are legends, LeBron James called himself the GOAT. He said, I think I'm the greatest after the 2016 finals, which, if you missed somehow, LeBron James came back. He carried the Cavs from, well, I don't want to say carried because Kyrie did have a very large role to play, but of course, you can never win a final. It's like a series with just one player. So LeBron and Kyrie together came back from down 3-1 to the 73-9 Warriors. And LeBron said that I think that moment made me the greatest player of all time, which I don't know if I agree with, but a lot of people, I don't think players were, but a lot of people, a lot of the media they were mad at LeBron for saying that, for coming out and saying it himself, and I don't have a problem with that. I think every player, especially players that are that good, right? I'm pretty sure they all think that they're the greatest of all time. Like if you ask Jordan, he's gonna say I'm the best. If you ask Kareem, he's gonna say I was the greatest. If you ask like Magic, he's gonna say I was the greatest. Like I think that's part of it, and you have to have that kind of mentality if you're gonna be considered one of the greatest players ever. You can't just be like, oh, you know what? I think all these players are probably better than me. Even if they are, I think you need to believe that you are the greatest. I don't have any problem with LeBron coming out and saying that. I don't agree with him. I don't think he's the greatest yet. Uh, I always said that Jordan was the greatest, Kobe was second to me, and LeBron was third. I think after the 2016 finals, I think maybe LeBron has moved up in place of Kobe, so I think Kobe's number three all time. I am biased. I'll admit I love Kobe, so yeah, but I will say this, and I think it was Chauncey Billups that agrees with me. I think Kobe is the best player in terms of skill. Like he's the best basketball player ever. Kobe, well, I think Jordan and LeBron might be greater in the sense that they had a larger impact on the sport as a whole and as like on the community and on the fans. But I think pure as a basketball player, I think Kobe's the best. I think Jordan is the greatest, LeBron is the second greatest. I think Kobe's the best, Jordan is the second best, and LeBron's the third best. I think that's the way I look at it. So to me, there's a difference between being a great player and being a like between greatness and between skill. I think that's um I think that's a distinction that a lot of people kind of just forget about sometimes. I don't know if I'm the only one that looks at it like that because I don't think I've seen a lot of people say that before or just talk about that in general about the difference between greatness and just skill. Um, but yeah, in other off-court news, excuse me, in other off-court news, we have the Knicks, Enes Kanter, not wanting to go to London to play. So the Knicks play a game in London as one of the international NBA exhibition games that they host every so often. I think earlier some teams played in Mexico. I'm sure there's going to be some teams going to China later this season because the NBA has a big audience in China, maybe even the Philippines because apparently they're pretty popular there as well. But London is some place that they always go. Uh, he said Cantor has been there's been a lot of like stuff going on between Cantor and the Turkish government. So Cantor is Turkish. He's born there. He's a Turkish like he's Turkish, and the president of Turkey has ordered an assassination of Enes Kanter. They've taken away his passport and his citizenship. I don't know exactly what happened. Basically, from what I remember, this has been going on for a while. I think at least like a year and a half, 2 years almost. Basically, Kanter said something against the president of Turkey on social media, I think, and obviously he didn't like that, and so he just took away his citizenship, took away his passport. He not kidnapped. He arrested Cantor's father. That's what happened. So there's like he said that I don't want to go to London because I fear for my life, which I think is a valid reason to not play a game. But that's just it's really terrible what he's having to deal with now. I don't know what the actual like the full story on this is, so don't take my word for it. I've heard, or not heard, but I've read, it's also on Twitter, so you never know how accurate this stuff is, but I read on Twitter that Cantor might be supporting like terrorist groups against the Turkish government, and that's why the government has a problem with him. I don't know what actually is happening. If that's true, then maybe it's a different situation, but I don't think that it is. And I just think it's awful because he seems like a kind of likable person. Like if he's on your side, I think you would like him a lot. He's kind of a douche when it comes to just like dealing with other people and other players. But I think if he's on your team, I think he's somebody that just plays hard and he seems like a good person in general. So it kind of sucks. I just wanted to put that out there, saying that politics gets very crazy sometimes. As you can see, this man is fearing for his life. And that's why he won't leave the country. Because I think the NBA said that while he's on in the United States, they can offer some kind of additional protection. But he has like an assassination hit on his head. Like there's a bounty on this man's head, and if he leaves the country, he's scared that he might never return. He might just get assassinated, which is unbelievable. Like it's a crazy story. But it is what it is. It's just to me it's just wild. But yeah. Um, with that, I think we're gonna talk about. We talked about Harden and his MVP chances. I want to talk about Steve Kerr, saying that he thinks the Warriors need to stagger KD and Curry more, which I understand. So if you don't know what that means, staggering KD and Curry basically means you play them not together as much. You play them so that there's always either one on the court, and so they might not play as much next to each other, but you always have one of the two on the court at all times. Like that's what a lot of teams do. I think last year the Rockets would stagger Chris Paul and Harden like that, so they didn't play together as much, but there's always one of the two key ball handlers on the court, which is I'm pretty sure what Steve Kerr is going for, but I don't know if I agree with it because it means that what he does a lot of the times to close the games is halfway into the fourth quarter, he pulls Steph Curry, pulls him out of the lineup. So to close games, Curry is not there. And he says, yeah, I think this is perfectly okay. Now, I don't know. Clearly, that's not their best lineup, right? Their best lineup is when KD and Curry are out there together. And I think, I don't know. I think right now, Curry is kind of just playing around with lineups to see what's going on, because obviously the Warriors, their only concern is the playoffs, right? As long as they make the playoffs, have home court advantage, they should be good to go, I think. So I think this is just Kerr trying to play around, see what works, see what doesn't. I'm pretty confident going into the playoffs, he's gonna have his best lineups out there as much as he can. But it's just, to me, it's just interesting. You usually don't see coaches come out and just all out together say it, that like, yeah, I'm gonna play our worst lineups, because I want to see what happens. Like to me, that was just really weird. Um, Daryl Morey, the Rockets plan on making big moves at the trade deadline. I think this was reported by, I don't know who it was actually. I should have written this down in my notes, but I remember it was a name. I don't think it was Woj. Don't remember who it was, but it was from a reputable source. I think it might have been Sam Amick. I don't know, but somebody good, somebody reliable has been saying that the Rockets are they're planning on being big buyers at the trade deadline, which I think is a good idea. I think this team needs to be fixed a little bit. They have their core between Harden, Capella, Chris Paul, Eric Gordon, but outside of those four players, they're really playing a bunch of scrubs right now. And right now, it kind of seems to be working. The last 10 games, it's been working. The last 11 games, it's been working. But I don't think it's I don't think it's going to be successful in the playoffs. And at least I think Daryl Morey is smart enough to realize that. So he says that he plans on making big moves. We'll see what the Rockets do. If you want to see, if you want to be one of the first people, we all know, if you have a group chat, you want to be the first person to break your news to the group chat, make sure you follow me and the podcast on Twitter, because I'll be tweeting out live as soon as things that I hear start to happen. I'll be tweeting about them. Yeah, that's basically what it is. Because I did that last year. I really liked it. I really thought it was a lot of fun. I was like live tweeting as soon as I heard things. This was back when I was in India, so it was like 2 o'clock in the morning when the deadline hit and people were like, there are trades happening everywhere. And I was like live reacting to it, and to me it was a lot of fun. So if you want, I'm probably gonna do that this year again as well. If you guys enjoy that, if you want to hear about what's going on before any of your friends do, make sure you follow me at Assess the Threat. Okay. Beyond that, let's see. We have Anthony Davis coming out and saying that he believes the Pelicans record is his that he says the Pelicans are a better team than the record shows. That's what he says. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the Pelicans record right now. I think they are 14th in the West, which is 18-22. I believe he said this like 2 games ago. So I think they were like 17-21 or something like that. I don't know, but excuse me. Anyway, he said that the Pelicans are much better than the record indicates, and I think I wanted to see what IPF thought about it. I think he's not right, actually. Well, maybe they are. Maybe he is right. I think he is right, in the sense that they've been losing a lot of close games, so the record could very easily be a lot better than it is. I just don't think, in that sense, I do think that he was right. Because they've been like losing close games. Their eye test seems to say that they're better than the record shows, right? Like they've been losing a lot of games that maybe they would have won if a couple of things had gone slightly differently. That being said, I do think that I would think that they would be a 500 team. So yeah, maybe the record is a little bit worse than it should be. But I also think that given the talent on this roster, this is about the place that I thought they'd be in this stand. I wouldn't say they'd be 14th in the West, but I think win percentage right now they're at 45%. I would have thought maybe they'd be like at 53%, slightly above 500, but not by too much, because they don't have a lot of talent on this roster at all outside of Anthony Davis, who's carrying this team so much. It's unbelievable. He puts up 40 points, 22 rebounds in one game, and they still lose. Like the team around him is just awful, and there's not a lot of talent there, and the Pelicans need to fix that fast. So I very well expect them to be what do you mean? I very well expect them to be buyers in the trade market and the buyout market towards the end of the season. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to pull up. So I want to talk about the All-Star first fan returns. I'm gonna see if I can find them. The All-Star returns 2019. Let's see if I can find the right image, the right list of them. Wow, this is very hard for some reason. Okay, so I found the East. I don't know where the West is. Why is this list all over the place? Okay, at least let me talk about the East real quick. No, actually, I don't want to do that. Let me pull them up real quick. Wow, this is a very professional. Yes, I am a very, very professional podcast host. I promise. Okay, so let's see. Where are the fan returns? All-star voting. Okay. Okay. All right. So the Eastern Conference, Western Conference. Okay, there we go. So Eastern Conference guards. Number one, Kyrie Irving. Okay, I think that's about right. Dwayne Wade, number two. Kemba Walker, number three. Ben Simmons, number four. Oladipo, number five. Kyle Lowry, number six. Zach LaVine, number seven. Jeremy Lin, number eight. Bradley Beal, number nine. John Wall, number 10. Now, I think most of this list is okay. I don't know why Jeremy Lin is so high up. He's been playing whatever, okay-ish. The Hawks have been doing like whatever. So I don't know why he's that high. Um, Everything else seems fine to me except Dwayne Wade. Wade being so high up. I get it. Like I understand why fans are voting him because this is it, right? This is the end of Flash, the end of Dwayne Wade. He's gonna retire at the end of this season, guaranteed. That's what he said. So I get it. People want that legacy vote. People did that for Kobe, and they're doing it for Dwayne Wade, and I don't have a problem with that. I just think having him this high, maybe, I don't think he should start the game. At least not in place of Kemba Walker, who's been great this season, and it's his home court, in Charlotte. So I think Kemba should start. Dwayne Wade should play the game. I'm not saying he shouldn't be an all-star, but I don't think he should start. And then in the front court we have Giannis, number one. Kawhi, number two. Joel Embiid, Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum, Blake Griffin, Vince Carter, Andre Drummond, Gordon Hayward, Al Horford. I think this list is fine as well for the most part. Maybe Tatum is getting a few too many votes given how he's been playing recently. Celtics kind of up and down. Apart from that, I think I like this list. Again, Vince Carter, I'm assuming, is like a legacy vote. Similar to that of Dwayne Wade, because who knows how long he's going to be playing, who knows how long he's going to be out there. He hasn't said anything about retiring, but you can clearly see there's a dip in his performance. So we'll see. Again, I don't mind if he makes another All-Star team. The Western Conference, now this is where things get kind of dicey. We have Steph Curry. This is the guards. We have Steph Curry, number one, fine. Derrick Rose, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Klay Thompson, Damian Lillard, DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, Devin Booker, and Chris Paul. Now, there's a lot wrong with this list, I think. First of all, Derrick Rose, I'm happy for you. I really am. I'm really happy that things have been kind of going his way this season after everything that he's been through in his career, everything that he's had to fight through and fight past. I'm glad to see him have a good season. That being said, I don't agree with him starting based on this. If we were to have the All-Star game based on this, he would be a starter. Number two overall in the guards. Or number two overall in the West guards actually. But he's number two overall in guards actually, altogether, including Kyrie and Wade, based on the numbers I'm seeing. So don't know about that. But I think if you vote him in, if the players vote him in, media votes him in, I would be okay with it. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I definitely think he should be there ahead of Lonzo and Devin Booker and even Chris Paul this year, just because Paul's missed so much time and he hasn't been playing that well. What else is wrong with this? Having Westbrook over Klay and having both of them over Lillard, I think is a problem. Having both of them over DeRozan, I think is also a problem. I think Lillard over DeRozan is fine. Lillard has been balling out for them. Where's CJ? CJ should be on this too, I think, on the list. Definitely shouldn't start, but I don't know. West guards, always tough. But I think it should be Curry, Harden, Westbrook. I think Klay first, and then, Clay's been pretty off, actually. I think Westbrook over Klay is fine, but neither of them should be over Dame. I think they're number 6 right now. Lillard is number 6 right now. Lonzo shouldn't be getting these many votes. I'm not mad about it particularly because I like Lonzo Ball and I'm a Laker fan, so the more Lakers, the better. But realistically, I don't think he should be getting so many votes. I do think he should get more votes than both Booker and Chris Paul, though. Not gonna lie. we have the front court now with LeBron leading the league as always in All-Star votes. LeBron James. Then number 2 we have Luka Doncic, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, Paul George, Steven Adams, Nikola Jokic, Kyle Kuzma, Draymond Green, and DeMarcus Cousins. Now again, a lot wrong with this list. I don't think Doncic should be that high up at all. He's been playing well. He's been playing excellent for a rookie, and he's probably a top 40, top 30, 40 player in the league already, maybe. But I don't think he should be above Kevin Durant and Anthony Davis, who are both MVP candidates in the All-Star voting. So Luka Doncic, not. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with Steven Adams being above Jokic. I think Jokic is the second best center in the league. I think the best is Joel Embiid right now. That's my opinion. Embiid is better. I think Towns might be better as well, who I don't see here at all. Karl Anthony Towns has none. So Steven Adams should not be this high up. I think Kuzma. I honestly think Kuzma, if the Lakers were to get 2 All-Stars, I think Kuzma should be the second one. He's been playing really good for them, especially next to LeBron. I don't think he makes it, but I think if the Lakers were to make 2 All-Stars, it should be him over both Lonzo and Ingram. That's my opinion. Draymond Green, it's whatever. Having him this like low is okay. And DeMarcus Cousins, number 10. DeMarcus Cousins, who has not played a single game, has 92,977 votes. This is how you know that there are 92,000 bandwagon Golden State Warrior fans. That's it, because all of their players, all their starters have votes, have a lot of votes. Curry, Clay, KD, Draymond, and DeMarcus Cousins. If you look at their roster on like NBA 2K, those are going to be the 5 highest rated players in that order. Not in that order. KD is going to be over Clay, but positionally at least in that order. So that's how you know there's 92,000 people that are voting for players that don't know what they're doing. 92,900 people, almost 93,000 people that are blindly just throwing in votes for their Warriors players because they see that they're on the Warriors and they deserve to be in the All-Star. This is why I don't like the voting system. I don't think the fans should have 50%. I think somebody else said this on The Jump, I think it was one of the guests on The Jump. It might have been Paul Pierce. I want to get my sources right, but unfortunately I don't remember. But I think fans should get 25%, media should get 25%, the players should get 50%. I think that's what the real voting should be. Because of things like this. Clearly there's 93,000 people, or at least multiple people that together have voted for 93,000 times that don't know basketball, that don't watch basketball. But yeah, that's what we have. That's basically it for the news and that kind of stuff. We don't have any trades or any transactions, any big ones at least. Marshawn Brooks finally got traded. Yay for the Grizzlies, who finally got rid of him for, I don't remember who it was for. It really was not a big deal. They might win like 2 more games and still miss the playoffs, so it's whatever for the Grizzlies. But LeBron James is out for another week with his strained groin. He's already missed 5 games, and the Lakers are 1-4 without him, which it sounds really bad, but honestly, I'm not too worried about them because I'm worried about a few things. I'm worried more about the problems organizationally than I am about their on-court stuff, which I'll get into. I don't want to get into right now because how long are we at? We're at 40 minutes. So I wanted to keep this one a little bit shorter, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. But what I do want to say is that Brandon Ingram has been made to be their go-to scorer with LeBron out, and I don't think that's the right role for him. I don't know if this is a problem from the coaching staff, if this is Luke saying, you know what, there's nobody else to score the ball, Brandon Ingram, you do it, or if this is from Magic, because we all know at the beginning of last season, Magic said Ingram is going to be a 20-point per game scorer, which he's not. And I don't think, I'm not saying he won't be, because I definitely think he can get there, but that's not he's not a go-to scorer. I think he's really good at a lot of things, just ISO one-on-one scoring, he's not quite there yet. Um, and he's been kind of forced into that position. So I think that's a problem that Luke needs to take a look at. Um, Also, two of those games Kyle Kuzma missed because he's out with a lower back contusion. He's gonna go undergo an MRI tomorrow when I record, so that's Monday. It should be today when you guys listen to it, but on Monday is when he's gonna undergo that MRI. And so yeah, so Lakers have been missing LeBron, Kuzma, and Rondo, who together are their two most vocal leaders in LeBron and Rondo. They're two assist leaders in LeBron and Rondo. They're two scoring leaders in LeBron and Kuzma. And they also have JaVale, who came back from pneumonia. Pneumonia is a very serious illness. Now, it can cause death in a lot of cases if you don't have the right medical equipment, which I don't think is a problem for millionaire NBA players like JaVale McGee. But in general, pneumonia is a very serious infection, and it can be very problematic. So he's still dealing with that, and he's back. He did play both two games, but obviously he's not fully healthy yet. He's still recovering from a very serious illness. Another update on more injuries, older injuries. Markelle Fultz is going to be reevaluated in the next week. Early next week is what I was reading online, which is a good sign. Again, this is just him being reevaluated, so we don't know if his progress has been going good or bad. We'll find out next week. So that should be on next week's podcast, I think. And last but not least, we have Kristaps Porzingis, who's not played a single game this season, who tore his ACL. I think February of last year, and usually ACL injuries you look at about a year in return, so he's back in the conversation. And the Knicks have not said anything publicly, but insiders seem to think that they're thinking about having him miss the entire season and just come back in October, which I think is perfectly fine for both parties. I think this gives Porzingis a chance to recover 100%, no doubts, no nagging injury, no nothing. Comes back full strength. Because the season after that, he's set to be a restricted free agent, I'm pretty sure. So that lets him, play at full strength, not have his value up or down for no reason because he's been injured recently. And I think that lets the Knicks tank a little bit harder, get a better pick. Tank for Zion. If you get Zion and Porzingis together, that's gonna be hard to beat soon. But yeah, that's just what it is for now. And I think that's gonna be it for this podcast. For this episode at least. The weekly preview, the weekly pick'ems that we do IPF. We're not doing that this week, obviously, because IPF is not here. Because we both picked the Rockets to win last week. IPF is now 7-6. Well, I'm 6-7, so I'm still down by one game. Totally fine. I know I'll make it up soon enough. And for your upcoming weekly preview, we have the Bucks at Rockets and the Pacers at Celtics. I think those two are going to be very good games. Especially make sure you check out that Bucks-Rockets game. The two front runners for league MVP are playing in that game, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I think Pacers-Celtics is actually very slept on. I think the Pacers are doing very, very well. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy those two games. I'm not going to do a pick 'em, but unofficially, I do think the Bucks are going to win. Actually, the Rockets are at home, so it's going to be tough. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Bucks because they're on a roll, and I think Harden is due for a off game. So I think the Bucks are going to win on the road, and I'm going to take the Celtics at home because they've been playing pretty well. Gordon Hayward has been looking better, looking more like his normal self. He's been moving a lot better, especially laterally. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the Celtics at home. And that's going to be it for this week's episode of the Buzzer Beater Basketball Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, follow me on Twitter at AssessTheThreat, follow IPF on Twitter, even though he's not here, at All Props Forfeit, and follow the podcast on Twitter at The BuzzerCast.